Welcome to Unapologetically Sensitive, where you can learn, relate, laugh, and maybe even live a bolder, brighter life. I'm your host, Patricia Young, licensed clinical social worker. This is a weekly podcast where we explore the strengths we have because of our sensitivity and some of the challenges it poses as well. The information in this podcast is not a substitute for help from a licensed mental health professional. Hey there. This is bonus episode 20. I already recorded the episode and now I'm going back and adding this, so when the other part of the episode starts, it may feel a little bit jumpy. The reason why I'm jumping in is I was recording in my son's room, and during the middle of the podcast, you can hear there's knocking on the door, and then he comes into the room. And then, I don't know, some people showed up with a blower next door. So all of a sudden you can hear a blower, and then I painstakingly remove all of my inhales. This is what they sound like when I don't take them out. And so I continue to do that. And so then you can hear this, and then it becomes dead silent when I take out the inhale. This is an exercise in imperfection for me. I wanted to delete the episode because I can't fix the background noise. It's imperfect. And you know what? Done is better than perfect. So we're just going to let it go as it is. I hope you enjoy it. And I hope that I'm modeling imperfection to you, and that gives you permission to know that done is better than perfect. I think I said that wrong earlier. Oh well, more imperfection. And as I'm simplifying things, I'm just going to hop right down to it. Today I want to talk about where we get our sense of validation from. Where do we look to see if who we are is okay, if we value and if we matter? I know this sounds really crazy, and I'm feeling vulnerable about this episode. But what's been going on for me is I've been watching the number of downloads for the podcast, and I think that my self-esteem has been really tied to it. Of course, as the numbers were going up, it didn't bother me. Of course it didn't. And the numbers have dipped a little bit. I really have no idea what that's about. And at this point, I don't want to get too concerned about it. But what I noticed was I started to feel, I'd say, a little bit depressed. And I don't know if it's the stress and the pressure of the holidays. As I've already told you, we've got more people in the house than we normally do. I'm displaced. There's a lot going on right now, and it's making it a little harder for me to manage. And my self-care has really kind of tanked. There was a time when I really was very diligent with self-care, and I was going to yoga regularly, and I was going to the gym and lifting weights, and my food was really, really clean, and I was taking time to prepare meals, and I felt more empowered than I ever had in my life. Whether I can get back to that regimen that I had before, I don't know. This is where radical self-compassion comes in, that I just have to let it be okay that I'm doing what I can do, and I just don't have the capacity right now to be able to run everything as smoothly and perfectly as I would like. So in many ways, self-care right now has not been as good as it can be. So I've been really focused on the downloads, and part of it makes sense. I'm wanting to see, are people listening? Is this resonating? How do I create content? There's a part of it that's very valid. What I noticed today, like I said, is that I was starting to feel kind of down and depressed. And it wasn't till I was talking with a friend about it that I made the connection that, the number of downloads have gone down. And what that brings up for me is, do I matter? Am I important? Is what I have to say important? And it's interesting that, the last couple of episodes, I feel like I'm finally starting to relax. I'm sharing more information. I'm feeling like the stories that I have to share are valuable. And so making up a story in my head with seeing the numbers going down is, nobody wants to hear about me. It's not interesting. I'm boring people. I'm too much. We know I've got that big wound of being too much. And what my friend Laura Carr, who's a licensed marriage family therapist, God bless her, you guys. If Laura wasn't here and my support system, I don't know where we'd be with this podcast, but she is just an incredible source of support and reflection for me. She reminded me of, it's very much the same thing of when we have that diet mentality and we get on and off the scale 15 times a day. We lose weight, we feel good, we've got esteem, we gain weight, we feel like we're worthless and we want to overeat. It's that giving our sense of power and value to something outside of ourselves. So the number of downloads is high, I feel good, the number of downloads goes down, and I feel like I don't have value. And what Laura suggested to me was to go back to my why. Why am I doing this podcast? And I'm really clear about that I really want to create a community and a culture where we feel really good about who we are, that we embrace sensitivity. And for all of us that have felt like freaks and misfits and, the kid that never fit in, that we have a place where we feel like who we are is okay and the things that we feel like are wrong with us really are our strengths and our superpowers. I don't know if that's a lofty ambition to have, but that's really what my ambition and my why for doing the podcast. And so just the same way as getting on and off the scale and feeling good about myself, or allowing myself to give power to the scale, I'm doing that with the darn downloads. And this is again where self-compassion comes in. I'm not sure that at this point I'm able or willing to stop looking at the downloads. If I were going to make a tiny change, what I would do is I would say, how many times a day will I check the stats? And I'm willing to look at that. And I'm willing to take a look at that. But I don't want my value to come from the outside. That's the quickest way to lose my love of doing this. I'm really loving the podcast. I'm loving finding my voice. I'm loving sharing with you guys. And if I let numbers dictate whether this is successful or not, obviously if everybody stops listening, then I need to look at that. But that's really not where we're at right now. My guess is that over time, after I've been doing this for 6 months, a year, that there are going to be times when the numbers drop. And if it's not significant, I don't think it's really any of my business why it's happening. Obviously I want to look at trends, but it's like getting on the scale 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 times a day. It's really not going to help. So for me, I need to remember what my why is. And core wound there is, do I matter? Is what I have to say important? And yes, it is. I know it is. I know I matter. And that's really what I need to dial down and focus on. So my question to you is, are there places where you're feeling like your energy is low, you're feeling down, you're feeling a wound? Are you able to figure out what it is that's underneath it that you're wanting and needing? Because we all go through this stuff. We all have core wounds. We all have gremlins that come up. We just need to learn to figure out how to work with them. And there's so much power in being able to have somebody that you can talk to when you're feeling down. And I've talked to Laura today a couple times. I've told you we use Marco Polo, and usually I'm pretty bright, even if I'm struggling. I haven't felt that way today, and it feels really vulnerable to show up and go like, I'm just having a hard time and I don't feel like I have anything great to share. But when we have a support system, the people that we love, the people who love us no matter what, whatever we're going through. And I really believe that part of that willingness to allow myself to be seen when I'm not in the greatest of places is powerful. My inclination has been, I just have been wanting to withdraw and kind of go into my cave. That usually doesn't work. I don't stay connected. I don't get what I need. I kind of go in my cave and I lick my wounds, but there's nobody to reflect what the truth is. And I think it's really common for us when we get overwhelmed and overstimulated that we want to withdraw. There are times when withdrawing can be nurturing, and we need to figure out if it's a time to withdraw or not to withdraw. For me, I know that this is not a time to withdraw and that I need to keep reaching out and talking about the things that are feeling wounding to me. That's where I'm going to get my sense of connection and belonging. All right, I hope you found this helpful. Remember, sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's our superpower. Have a blessed day.